Hello, YouTubers, and welcome back to another episode of The Grandstand here on the Ohio Patriot Education Network YouTube channel. I'm, as always, your host, AR, the Ohio Patriot. And for today's Grandstand, we're going to do it a little bit different, which is responding to our boy Duke Liberty's recent Shit It's a Fan 2A scenario that he gave out on his channel about a day or so ago. I just finished watching the video here a few minutes ago, and kind of got me thinking, because the scenario he gave was like various different guns and a grid down scenario, basically. For those that haven't watched the video, it's in the description here. The link to it is in the description, to say. And going over the actual, list of stuff that happened there, as Duke pointed out, it was basically you're away from home at work or whatever. You're coming back. Some form of government, National Guard, Army, military, something like that, stops you, detains you, strips you of any kind of weapons you have on you, is what it is. And then potentially what it is you go and you find some people, like sort of the claimed guys, I guess is the best way to describe it, the claimed guys from Walking Dead, where they had all those various weapons, what was there. And, it's basically like sort of mutual trust between the four of you there. So it's you and three other people going through a house. In said house, you find a Mosin Nagant with 15 rounds and a bayonet. You find a Model 10 38 Special with 7 rounds. I'm assuming 28-inch barrel double barrel shotgun with 8 rounds. We don't know if this is birdshot, buckshot, slugs, whatever. It doesn't really matter, honestly. I'm just going to assume it's buck at that point, or slugs, one of the two. And then the fourth option was a single shot, 22 bolt action, so like one of those little crickets that little kids use and stuff like that to get started on. It has 25 rounds in it. Or not in it, but it has 25 rounds with it. So it's basically like somebody had a 50 pack, they used half of it, is what it was then. So and I was thinking about this, right? So you basically have the cheap Mosin Nagant that was, like the barrel ones you could buy back in the day for like $75. So pretty much rough shape Mosin Nagant, open sights, iron sights, whatever you want to call it. 15 rounds. So you're talking about basically, and I'm assuming that these 15 rounds are on stripper clips because you have to have those to actually, put them in the gun, as far as I'm aware. I don't know. I don't own Mosin Nagant. I also don't own 7.62 54R for that matter. So very much, it's kind of like one of those things where you're just like, if something does happen and I can get all the way back home with this, like whatever is with this gun is all the ammo I'm going to have for that gun. So, but yeah, so you're talking about basically 3 5-round stripper clips, I'm assuming, on this. So you'd have one in the gun itself potentially, and then 2 more with it. Or you'd have a Model 10 revolver with a full cylinder and then a single extra round with that. That's 38 Special. A potential 28-inch double-barreled shotgun that you could actually modify down to a lower, like smaller length or whatever there. So probably like more like a 20-inch or even like 18 or 16-inch for that matter, depending. And then a single shot, like a little cricket thing is what it is, that has 25 rounds with it. So which one of these would I take? Knowing that I could this is the thing, knowing I can modify these things in the house that I'm in this grid down scenario and stuff like that, I think I'd honestly go with the double barrel. Because the thing is, like, it's not that hard to do, like the saw down of a barrel to like a slightly smaller barrel is what it is. And the fact of the matter is, like, depending on what you have with you, if you have because I'm assuming this is a time period where it's probably like, coat weather and stuff like that. So you could easily conceal something like that in the coat, depending on size and stuff. Nobody really say anything is what it is. As we might remember, look at go back to the movie Terminator, where you had, Kyle Reese take the shotgun from the cop car there, and then he was sawing off the back part of it to make it a different stock on it, so it's a little bit shorter and stuff like that. And he was able to like conceal it into his arm and like sort of down his pants and like side of his leg area. There is what it was. So I could easily see something like that, really. But you keep the stock, obviously, you just would have the barrel shortened down, is what it would be though. And being that it would be a double barrel side by side there, coach gun, shotgun, whatever, old stagecoach kind of gun is what it is there. I think that's got to be my choice. Second choice, I think, would be the 38, honestly, that Model 10. Just because of the fact that, again, when you're looking at things in this, I think, honestly, if we want to go and talk about ammo in this country is what it is. So you essentially have a 38 special, either a 12 or a 20 gauge, most likely a 12 gauge, because that's most what those double barrels were back in the day is what it is. And then it would be a 22, which is actually the most plentiful round in this country, honestly, and easily able to find a bunch of. But then again, it's also a single shotgun. And then a Mosin that is probably the most, like, I know they're obviously like Walmarts and stuff still sell the ammo for that and whatnot, but like, to me, it's not a like first choice caliber, I guess is what I'd say on that one. Because I've talked about this before on this channel, like about a year or two ago, I think is what it was. When we were under a different name, and how you basically have, because I was discussing then it was a scenario about like oddball calibers and shit as fan and stuff like that. And that's what I consider it to be most in the gauntlet. Like it's not quite like oddball, but it's like definitely like I'd basically put it in this thing. Like essentially, if you're talking about like street ammo that people would obviously have, like no matter what, it'd be like 9mm, 22, 12/20 gauge might be a secondary caliber, honestly, on that one. Like 12 gauge would be the first caliber, 20 gauge would be maybe a secondary caliber or something, because you have less 20 gauges than you have 12 gauges. And then it would be probably 45 and a few others like that. And then I would consider stuff like 40 to be like a secondary caliber almost, where it's still plentiful, but not as many people have 40s as 9s and stuff like that, and so forth and so on. And the same thing with like 20 gauges. Not as many people have 20 gauges as they have 12 gauges. So, potentially that would be like a secondary category. And I would actually even say Mosin wouldn't even be in that category. It'd be like the third kind of category, where it's like a fourth or fifth category is like super oddball. And then let's say fifth category is super oddball. It's like just random shit that's like you have to reload to basically have it. Fourth category is just like, okay, I might be able to find like some of this, but probably not much of it or whatever. I would almost put Mosin in like that third category, where it's like, I know people have them, that the 7.62x54R still exists out there in production and stuff like that, but like, how much of that are you really going to find out there is what it is, especially in a grid down scenario. So the way I'm looking at that one specifically is like, okay, if you might have that gun, you might have a bayonet with it and stuff like that, if you need to do some stuff. But at the same time, it's not concealable pretty much at all. It's a super long ass firearm. It is kind of clunky, especially if you've never used, those old school kind of bolt actions like that. And the fact that it's essentially, a war relic, where who's to say if it even functions properly? Like, I assume it probably will function maybe, but like, God forbid the person didn't clean all the cosmoline out of it, you're going to be kind of fucked then, is what it is, dude, if you need to take that shot and it don't work. So, and like I said, not to mention the fact that you'd only have like that 15 rounds pretty much ever in most cases. Yeah, I would say honestly it has to be the shotgun, followed quickly by that Model 10, and then probably the 22 would be the third option, with the Mosin being the fourth, or Mosin being third, and then the single shot being fourth. And the only reason I say those kind of two are interchangeable is because obviously Mosin could actually reach out and hit somebody with its impact and stuff, but like a 22 is actually replaceable very easily. And so it basically goes back to that. The thing is, though, it's like, okay, even if you're evading in this situation, right? Like, are you really going to want to trust your life on a gun that has one little baby shot in it against potentially a small group of people, where you'd have to be like, don't, and be like able to like go back and forth real quickly is what it is? Because the thing is, I don't think a lot of people will, dude, honestly. I think there's a lot of gunners in this country right now. Like, actually, that would be something to do, right? Like, just go get a Cricket, because I think they're only like $100 something still right now, and it would be like, do that for like maybe like a class. Actually, that's something maybe the network might do that in the future. Actually, for a class that we would hold, would be like, single shot drills kind of thing or something like that. And it would be like, how fast can you, scenario wise, be able to reload a single shot 25 times if you have to use up all that ammo, is what it is, in some kind of grid down. Because I guarantee you, most people are going to be gassed by the time it's like not even half that, dude. It'll probably be like 5-6 rounds in, and they'll probably be like, oh shit. So, yeah, I would not like. And here's the thing, right? Like, if we're going to talk about single shots, like, I'd almost say a single barrel shotgun would be a better option than a single barrel bolt action 22, just because of the fact that, yeah, you can take a shot and then you can pop that bitch open and pop another one in there real quick and, go to it again is what it is then. It's sort of the same thing with double barrel. Like, you could easily be like, boom, boom, ping, dong, dong, and like keep doing that basically a bunch of times is what it is. So, yeah, I could easily see the double barrel being probably the best option in this situation, just because of that fact. And two, the fact that you can actually modify the gun to have it be a slightly shorter barrel is what it is on that and be more concealable. But that being said, like, I could also see Model 10 being number one on this one too as well, because, the fact you'd have, it's like the only handgun in the mix right now. If you're actually trying to evade, it's actually the one that you would have least issue carrying with you. Because honestly, like, you're just a guy walking, basically, is what it is, and people think you're unarmed or whatever. And the thing with any handgun, for that matter, it's like, you look at any state in this country, any major city in this country, there's a reason why criminals tend to use handguns more than anything else, for that matter. It's because it's easily concealable. So, yeah, I could easily see that being a good choice to make. But that being said, the fact that you would have, potentially, at least in my case anyway, because I don't own 38 Special, at least not yet anyway. I'm thinking about getting into Caliber, honestly, one of these days when I get some money together is what it is. And the whole thing is, though, like right now, like if I was to make it home here, I would have no reloads for that gun. It would just be that 7 rounds that was with it. Now, granted, I know people around this area that may have access to 38 Special, but like even then, you're essentially like bartering with people. Then is what it is for something you may not have. So, versus I actually have access to both 20 and 12 gauge in multiple configurations, whether it be buckshot, slugs, birdshot, etc. So, anyway, for me personally, I think the double barrel would be the go-to, just because of the fact that it would be, for my personal choice, if I was to make it home, I would have a functioning firearm that I could still use after the fact, after that 8 rounds that it came with was spent. And the fact that I could actually have something now that would be, a potential home defense weapon, if any of my other weapons aren't here, is what it is a different story altogether as well, for that matter. It's like, yeah, somebody, tries to break in then or whatever, follows you home maybe or something. So, yeah, I definitely think the shotgun's the way to go on that one, especially with knowing that you have the ability to modify it in the house that you're in, that you find this gun in. So, that being said, how are you going to modify a Mosin? Modify a Mosin. Sorry, word jumble there. There's not really much you could do to that gun, honestly, dude, unless you would like have the expertise of like being able to use household stuff to shorten a stock without fucking it completely up, which even then I don't think that's going to work out well for you. So, yeah, to me, that's pretty much, the length it is what it is, honestly, on that gun, versus, shotgun can be, barreled down. The Cricket itself would be small as shit, honestly. And that's the thing. Well, and that's what I'm saying. It's like, yeah, like the shotgun shell availability. And the thing is, too, like, people don't realize this. You can actually reload shotgun shells very easily, especially with anything for that matter. And actually, that's another thing, too, for that matter. Even if you had, even if this was like, what was I going to say? Even if it was like 8 rounds of birdshot or whatever, you could, because you have a pocket knife with you from your pack still, you could actually do like some cut shells on that and basically turn those bird shots into more buckshot. So now, granted, that being said, I'm not sure how that would really work in a double barrel, because it would work way better with a, you know, I mean, I guess it would probably work the same way, because like half of it would come out with the shot itself then, and then the other half you just pop out then or whatever, hopefully, and it wouldn't, fuck up the barrel of that gun at all. I don't know. Again, not having access to these things, I don't know these things completely, but I do know about cut shells is what it is, because that was one thing they used to use back in Great Depression. Because obviously you had no money back then, and you basically were like, hey, we got to feed the family today. Need something that basically functions like buckshot, so let me go ahead and just, slice the shell a little bit here. And it's like, boom. Now, granted, that being said, if you do that, you obviously only have the one shell ever, where you can't ever cramp it down again, is what it is. So, yeah, maybe not a good thing in the long run. But that being said, like, you could easily reload like empty shotgun shells. All you need is the primer and then some gunpowder and stuff like that, and then put whatever in there, what you want to have in there. Or you can do like some kind of wax seal or something on there, is what it is too. So, you can do a bunch of stuff with shotgun shells, dude. So anyway, but yeah, my thing is, it's like, for me personally, thinking about it, I'm just like, I really think in this cool scenario, the shotgun's probably the best one to go with. Like, even though it only has 8 rounds with it, like, you essentially have 4 reload, or you would put the set into it to begin with, and then you'd have 3 extra reloads with that, versus a 38 special that you would have 6 shots with, and then potentially that 7th shot as a single reload then. And then, of course, Mosin would be, you got that 5 rounds in there with 2 reloads available. And the 4th one being one of those little crickets is what it is. And it's literally a single shot 22. And it's like, yeah, I don't, like, as much ammo as it has with it, like, there's a reason for that, man. It's because people are not going to use that, is what it is, effectively. Like, honestly, I would almost think a better scenario on that one wouldn't be a single shot. What it would be something like, I don't know, like a Ruger 1022 with a single mag and like 14 rounds or something. I think a lot more people would take that, honestly, because at least you'd have like a magazine that you could then reload partly of or whatever then. But yeah, I definitely think that I think the shotgun for sure is the way to go, honestly, on that one, just because, like, again, there's a reason why you look back to the Old West and there was always the shotgun on the stagecoach. It was a guy that had a double barrel shotgun, and he would, take out any kind of people that were trying to rob the stagecoach, is what it was, any kind of bandits and stuff. Now, granted, I've actually talked to people about this before as well. How much different and how many more shotguns back in those days would have survived stagecoach robberies had they had a 5 or 6 round pump action shotgun. I think there would be a lot more guys alive today that would have that ability then. And it does make you think, right? Like, the difference in technology that didn't exist back in those days versus nowadays. But either way, I mean, there's still a lot of people that have double barrels today, man. Hell, there's a lot of people that go hunting with double barrels. One of my cousins for years now actually has gone deer hunting with a single shot, 12 gauge. And he even said to me, he's like, yeah, you get, because I was like, wouldn't that be kind of like ineffective, considering if you have to make a follow-up shot or whatever the case be, if you miss like the first time around, or get like, just like wound the deer or whatever. And he's like, oh, you get pretty used to doing follow-up shots with that thing. So, yeah, I definitely think the shotgun's the way to go on this one. Because, again, you still have, like, mostly because of the fact that it's like this. If you actually would have to get into a gunfight or a gun battle, or whatever the case be, with, like, a couple people or a small group or whatever, then if you're talking about, double aught or even slugs for that matter, like, shotgun shells do a lot of fucking damage. Like, that shit was meant to tear flesh. Versus handguns, whether it be a 38 special or whatever the case be, like, you're just poking holes in people at that point, dude. versus taking big ass chunks out of someone in a grid down. So yeah, I definitely think the way to go on that one would be shotgun, just for that personal reason there. So I don't know. I'm gonna talk more with this about the boys tonight, actually, on Honda's chat later, and see what everybody else thinks on that one. Because, like I said, that's my personal opinion for it. Is the double barrel, just because of the fact that it can be easily modified and stuff like that. You could even put like a better, maybe sight picture on it for that matter, or leave it as is. Leave it as like a 28 inch potentially. But like, I don't really think I'd want to be carrying around that 28 inches what it is there. I would definitely want to have that several inches shorter for sure. And then nothing else, like, even just like, we're living in a house, where, like, you're scavenging a house at that point, man. Like, obviously, they're probably not gonna have JB weld or anything like that in there, but they may have some super glue, and you could easily take like, like figure out a way to like cut the fucking bead off the top part of the shotgun or whatever, and then take a bunch of fucking super glue and super glue that bitch into place is what it is then. Or if you found like a little bottle of Loctite or something like that, just Loctite that bitch into place for a little bit is what it is then. And even without a bead or anything like that, like, it's not that hard to be able to, basically make your own sight picture there is what it is on a double barrel. So anyway, but yeah, like I said, I think my personal first choice in this scenario would definitely be the double barrel side by side, and then the secondary choice would be the Model 10, just for concealability wise and stuff like that. And especially if you're trying to evade and you want to be on the move very fast and stuff like that. And the thing is, who's to say, by the way, like halfway through your journey and stuff like that, you wouldn't just randomly come upon something where it would be, like some place that was sort of, ransacked or whatever the case be, but there's still a couple of boxes of something on the shelf for that matter. Or even just some loose rounds of something where you find like, a bunch of scattered 38 special on the ground or something like that. So you actually find like more rounds or something. And the same thing with like shotgun shells for that matter. Like somebody, like 5 people are trying to go after each other for boxes of shotgun shells. One of them busted open or whatever, and they all went flying on the ground or whatever. But like nobody bothered to really pick them up, is what it was. So you find, or some people did maybe pick some of them up, but like a couple fell underneath like a container or something like that, or like what do you call that, like an end cap or something. And you're just like looking down or whatever, and you just happen to see a couple of them, and you're able to pull them out from underneath the racks. There is what it is then in your journey. So who knows. Obviously, I'm getting more into it then, obviously, because this is not part of Duke's original scenario. I'm just adding shit in at this point, honestly, is what it is, because that's what I love to do, man. My thing, too, is from my autistic perspective and stuff like that, it's always like, okay, you just mentioned, like, rounds, or you don't mention, like, if it's buckshot, birdshot, slugs, etc. So it's like, what are we supposed to really, think about that? So I'm assuming it's hunting, honestly. We'll be hunting rounds, which would either be slugs or buckshot of some kind. So anyway, but yeah, I could easily see the shotgun being the best choice in this one, especially with being able to modify it down a little bit. So anyway, that's my personal choice for the actual thing. Let me know what your choice is on this whole thing. Go to Duke's page there that I put in the description to that video, and leave a comment there about what your choice would be and why. And if nothing else, like I said, I'll be most likely on Honda's Gay Frog chat tonight. We'll hopefully talk about this again tonight, is what it is then, with the boys. Maybe Duke will be on there. I don't know. Maybe he won't be on there. Who knows? Depends, man. He's got that them sleeping issues, so he tends to nod off pretty easily. He might be on there for like the first 15 minutes and then just pass out on us right before we get a chance to talk about this. So, anywho. But yeah. It does make me think, though. Like, I'm going to start coming up with my own 2A scenarios very soon. We'll most likely do this again at some point in the future for Buckshot Thursday, this coming Thursday then. Even if nobody's here and stuff like that. I might just do like 4 or 5 I come up with then or whatever. And go from there and stuff. So, anyway. But yeah, thought it was interesting. Thought I would talk about this. And again, it's something different for the channel right now. Goes back to more of our 2A education stuff than our political side of here, which we will get back into pretty soon, actually. And dealing with the commies in this state, because fucking goddamn Communist Party of Ohio put out some stupid ass statement after issue 1 went down the other day. So I want to talk about that probably at some point in the future here. But anyway, that's not for today though. That's for another topic for another day. So anyway, like I said, let me know what your guys' thing is. Let Duke know what your thing is here. If you would go with the double barrel with 8 rounds, the single shot 22 with 25 rounds, the Model 10 with 7 rounds, or a Mosin Nagant with 15 rounds and a bayonet. Either way, that's about it for today. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good day. I will be back probably. Let's see, today is Sunday. Obviously, I'll be on Honda's chat tonight as long as he has one. And then probably not until like Tuesday or Wednesday, I would guess, for my own channel here, because I got some stuff I got to do this week. And not much has really happened. The only thing I really want to do is another grandstand about what's going on with Ohio recently with all the shit with issue 1 and stuff like that. So we'll talk about that in the next episode, which will be obviously 283, which I already had set up here. So it'll technically be the one before this episode, but it'll go on after this episode. So anyway, that being said, that's about it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you all on the next one. Later.